All right, guys, it's time for the Next Level Guy Show, a men's interview, interest, and improvement-focused podcast featuring interviews with the greats from all industries to help you better your life. Each week, a new episode features an interview with one of the greats, covering all aspects of their story, from life hacks to tips and protocols that have allowed them to live life on the next level. We then highlight concrete action steps that you can use to improve your life. And now, your host, Ian Dawson Mackay.
If you're struggling with dating, the problem isn't the apps, the city, or your age. It's how you're using them. Be intentional, be confident, and most of all, be yourself. And that's a quote from today's guest, Erika Ettin. Dating in the modern world is a battlefield of swipes, texts, and ghosting. And if you're not playing the game right, you're getting left behind. And that's where Erika comes in. She's not just a dating coach, she's a strategist, a game changer, and the secret weapon behind thousands of successful relationships. As the founder of A Little Nudge, Erika has taken the guesswork out of dating. Armed with a background in business analytics and a sharp, no-nonsense approach, she helps people craft dating profiles that stand out, send messages that actually get responses, and navigate first dates with confidence. Her expertise has been featured in the New York Times, the Washington Post, NPR, and more. Because when it comes to modern dating, she knows exactly what works. If you're tired of endless swiping, awkward conversations, and wondering why dating feels like an uphill battle, Erika is here to shake things up. Get ready for real, actionable advice that will transform your love life. And now, let's get to the interview. Instagram, honestly, is one of the best things I've looked at.
Oh my God, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Because I really love how I can look at your Instagram and think, I'm not as bad as some of these guys.
Well, I know it gives people comfort in that way. I feel like it's partly entertainment, partly educational. Yeah, both of those things. Partly to feel like you're not alone.
Well, it's like the guy who mentioned he's circumcised in his profile.
I can't handle it. Okay, the last thing we want to picture, well, you understand. Anyway.
No. Because that's the thing. I mean, I went to a job interview today. It's probably why I look like a public school boy. And I thought, we can market ourselves in these interviews, and we can talk about our experience or history.
Yeah.
But we can't talk about our dating or ourselves to pull a lifelong partner that's going to give us happiness. Where do you see guys going wrong? How do you think we struggle in that sense?
Do you mean in the online or just in general?
In general, I think it'd be a podcast of its own. But I mean, for both, then where do you see guys struggle in the dating life when they come to you? Is there a similarity in what they say?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone struggles, not just men, but I think men in particular struggle with, like you said, how do you market yourself in such a way that isn't braggy, but shows who you are? Because nobody wants to read, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, I did this, this, and this, and this. Because you think to yourself, ew, you're such a braggart. But there are ways to get across who you are that don't say, I am amazing. And it's finding that, and I could say that for anyone, actually, not just men, but it's finding that middle ground between showing who you are, but not like beating someone over the head with it. And so also, I mean, you see the profiles I post. Many men make the mistake of, sometimes I wonder if they're trying to impress other men and they're actually searching for women. Because, like, women don't want to talk. You definitely don't want to hear things about your body parts. Definitely don't want to see pictures of your slimy fish. Don't want to see your progress pictures from the gym. Don't want to see your shirtless selfies. And I wonder sometimes if they're asking their guy friends for advice and the guys are like, yeah, looks good, because that's not their target market. All women want to see is who's going to show up on the date. We want to see you looking happy. We want to see you in clothing. And we want to see a few things about you that make sure that you sound like You're level-headed, can write a complete sentence, and would be reliable and show up on a date.
I'll be right back. I have to change a lot of things in my profile just now.
I knew it. Are we going to go through your profile today?
Oh, well, I'll happily show you, man. What I used to do was, because I would take the pictures, I never had any good pictures of myself. I always looked like a serial killer in the side of pictures, or that weirdo. And suddenly when it was like, pick 6 of your best, I was like, I barely have 6 pictures of me, never mind 6 of the best. And, everybody comes out looking like a model. I look like Shrek from the Goonies, and, it's...
Okay, trust me, no one's coming out looking like a model their first shot. So, like, for pictures, the first picture should be just a nice clear shot of you smiling. Who is actually going to show up on the date? Some women do like to see that you have a social life or have friends. So I don't recommend posting a picture with 1 million friends, because we can't figure out who you are, and inevitably one of your friends is going to be someone else's type. And so I generally recommend either cropping or zooming in to the point where you can't really see the faces of the other people, but it shows that you do things. A red flag for a lot of women is, are they all selfies? Are they all at-home selfies? Are they all taken the same day? That indicates, do you have friends? Do you have any other people in your life? What are you actually doing with yourself? So you just need a little bit of variety in there.
So how would you start then? So say somebody has been single, they come out of divorce, they've had no game.
How Not putting yourself down, by the way. I think you look great. You sound great. But if you tell me that you're not great, I'm going to believe you. And so every time you put yourself down, I think less of you. Just FYI. And I get that self-deprecation is a type of humor. It's not my type of humor. And I understand what you're doing. Yeah. Like, I get it. But I think you look great.
Thank you. Thank you. Because that's the thing I found was I spent so long building up the podcast, building up the brand, building up I moved away from the social side of things. And then suddenly when all your friends were single and you were going out and meeting people, suddenly you're like, hey, wait a minute, you're married with kids, you're not doing this, you're doing that, you've moved away. And we used to meet people through friends of friends. Sure. How do we start this again when we're not using recommendations from friends, but we're actually having to rely on, here's me, pick me, compared to thousands of other guys?
Right. I mean, there's no one right way to meet people. I just want everyone to use the tools that are available to them, and not just use the tools, but use them well. So what are those tools? Some of those tools are obviously online dating sites. Okay. So you put yourself on 1 or 2 apps. Other tools are events you can go to in person. Maybe you can find a speed dating event in your area, or some sort of singles mixer, or a meetup on a topic you already enjoy. So that way, if you go, you're going to have a good time regardless. And if you meet someone, great. But I can't sugarcoat the fact that meeting someone takes work. I think where people really get in trouble is they think someone's going to fall out of the sky and it's easy, and it's not easy. I mean, you just said you were at a job interview, right? It probably took work for you to put together a resume and a cover letter and even find this company and then submit your information to that company. Then they had to like you enough to want to call you into an interview. And then you had to go. You had to get dressed. And then you had to go to the interview. And then you had to talk about yourself. And maybe you didn't even like them. Maybe they didn't like you. Maybe you loved each other. I don't know. But that takes a certain level of work. And that same level of work should be put into dating. And that's where there's sort of a mismatch, where people think other things in life that are important to them require, or they should put in that time and energy, whereas dating should just come easy. It shouldn't come easily. Choosing a partner is hard. And so I recommend, really devoting some time. Maybe that's 30 minutes to online dating every day. Maybe that's 3 events of some kind per month. It's probably going to cost you some money too. Like most things in life that are important cost money. That's okay. People spend more on their coffee every morning and yet refuse to pay for some of the dating app upgrades that could actually help you find a partner. That to me is crazy.
So how would you balance that then? Like, say if, you'll get people who come and say, oh, I'm too busy to date, I'm too old to date, etc. And like you're saying, it could become a system. It could be something as simple as, 30 minutes, checking your messages, replying, typing. How then do you balance that? Because I've heard you mention in other interviews about 3 events a month where you
Yeah,
go and meet people in real life. Is
yeah.
that still the same you would go with versus the use of apps?
I would do both. So they're not mutually exclusive. It's not like there's no. It's not like do apps or don't do apps, do events or don't. You can put yourself out there in many different ways. Yeah, no, I know people all the time say, I'm too busy for this, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too this, oh, that. I do think those are mostly defense mechanisms because if you never put yourself out there, you can't fail, right? So if you say, well, I'm too busy anyway, then if you don't meet someone, it's like, well, I was too busy. Or you can make up any story in your mind, like, oh, well, it's because this is my age and nobody wants me. Well, that's not true. I've worked with people of all ages. There's someone out there looking for you, but it takes work to find that person. And so if someone comes to me and says, it's my city, or it's my age, or it's my this, I have to be the meanie to say, well, actually, I hate saying that, but I have to go, everyone says that. And I know I get annoying. I can really annoy people when I say, everyone says it's their city. Everyone likes to assign blame to something, when in reality, hard work does pay off.
So do you see a change like from culture to culture, age group to age group at all? Or is it more the personal story and the emotion we attach to our particular problem that we see such an end of the world where somebody might find it endearing, but we're blocking our own way because we believe we're unlovable, unlikable, whereas there is somebody that is into that or would find that attractive?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think we all have a thing. I call it a perceived flaw. We all have things that are perceived flaws to somebody. And I say perceived because they're not actually flaws. Like, I'm 5'1". I don't know what that is in centimeters. That could be a perceived flaw to somebody that I'm so short, right? But to somebody else, that could be the perfect height. You know what I mean? It could be a perceived flaw that you work in a certain industry. Someone might not want someone who works night times, whereas someone else might love someone who works at night because it really fits into their schedule. And so a lot of life is how you frame it. So if you go out saying, ugh, I know I work at night, it's not ideal. Like I said to you earlier, you put yourself down. Sorry to call you out. Like, I will agree with you if you tell me you're right, it's not ideal. Or you could come out and say, I work at night. It's the best of both worlds. I get to sleep in, I get to do what I want during the day, and then I get my work out of the way at night. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool. People are so malleable, right? They'll think whatever you want them to think. And so I do believe that we have a lot of limiting beliefs. I'm not sure if that's what you just asked, but I think you're right. Now, I can't know every culture, right? I live in America. I have never lived, I've traveled a lot, but I haven't lived everywhere, obviously. I find that dating is pretty much the same. Here, every place has its quirks. Every place has I won't travel past this place to go somewhere, or that's a little outside my range, or there's too much traffic there, or people from this city are blank, right? But on the whole, people are people, and I find that in any place in the world, I find similarities in terms of what people are looking for, what people are attracted to. People are people.
So how have you seen things change? Because you've talked about how you're using JDate and like all these sorts of apps, and when we first started, it was like Match and was it Plenty of Fish? I think I remember being
all
on
kinds
that.
of stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, eHarmony was out there.
oh, I remember those, and it was like the prompts were amazing. People thought they were the best things in sliced bread, and now
Oh
we're
my God,
using
they had
apps.
that old man. I don't know. I hope he's alive. The guy who founded eHarmony, he used to be on all of the commercials.
There's that guy that you'd always see them. They'd always be all about like, I'm on 50 dates a minute, and you're like, well, why are you advertising that? Would you not keep that as your gold mine? But
Right,
how have
right.
you how have you seen this from like our grandpa's ages through onwards? Like how's attraction dating? Because it's gone from you'll meet at the diner and have a smoothie together to
Mm-hmm.
I'll flick through 400 people while I'm waiting to get a cashier at a checkout.
Yeah.
How do you think it's changed in our attitudes to dating? Have we got to a point of instant gratification. If we're not getting exactly a date and attraction, that's it. We're moving on.
Yeah, I think dating is a lot hard. It's easier to meet people these days. Like, people are more accessible to us, but it's much harder now too because there are so many options. So, like you said, um, in our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, like, my parents lived in the same apartment building. That's how they met. That's how a lot of people met. Work, friends, proximity. Now, yes, people want instant gratification. That's why the apps like Bumble or Hinge are so popular, because people are attached to their phones anyway, and so they can do everything they want at the swipe. But because there are more people on the apps, I don't think we know anyone who's single who hasn't tried a dating app. Um, it's easier to dismiss people or treat them like commodities because there's always another person around the corner. And that is certainly frustrating. And part of what I do in my coaching is, if you go on a first date with someone and it's okay, not great, not terrible, give them another try. You have nothing to lose except another hour out of your life, because this is a real person who probably has some value they can bring to your life. And if we dismiss everyone based on an hour snapshot, then I don't think anyone would meet anyone, because that's just not truly representative of who somebody could be. So yeah, I think dating is a lot more difficult now. It's easier because we have access to more people, but it's more difficult to find that connection because people are quicker to judge and quicker to dismiss. And that's frustrating. And when you can see everyone in a catalog, like the menu, probably don't have the Cheesecake Factory, like the Cheesecake Factory menu, and you see everyone just lined up next to each other, who's not going to want to pick the shiniest thing?
No. I mean, because I've seen people go the two styles, it's either, oh, there's amazing, there's so many people in this app and to choose from. And other
Mm-hmm.
people say, oh, there's so many people on here, I'll be single forever, because I'm not getting any likes. So they see it through their own perceived bias. They see it with their own lens of, and it's infuriating. And I've been both sides of that. When I was
Yeah.
younger, I would be getting dates all the time, and I would be like, brilliant, all these new people.
Yep.
And the stories you tell yourself is what
Oh,
probably
that's your
prevents us.
reality. Absolutely. Like you were saying earlier, if someone says, I'm too old to date, then yeah, you have now told yourself that story, and you will find every piece of data to support your hypothesis. That's just in statistics. You can turn the data into anything you want to support whatever story you want. So yeah, you'll keep finding things to support that. But you could say the exact opposite. I'm the perfect age, or everyone's looking. It's funny how you carry yourself, whatever thoughts you put in your head. I remember in college, I would sometimes, this sounds conceited, fine, but I would sometimes walk around just for practice and be like, everyone loves me. Everyone wants to talk to me. I am amazing. Whatever, you just talk yourself into things. And people do treat you differently when you carry yourself differently.
It's like act as if, that positive reaffirmation of
Talk the talk, walk the walk. It really makes a difference. There's studies. Smiling actually makes you happier. Not that you smile because you're happy. That happens too. But the act of, even like this, I'm probably happier now. I'm a very happy person regardless. But you know what I mean.
I remember reading somewhere that if you're walking along and you're finding yourself like ruminating and thinking about your past, you'll find yourself looking down. So if you want to get out of that, you have to look to the horizon, because you can't activate that part of your brain by looking down. And it's all these amazing things that come into your head. Listen to and I go, oh, so I'm going to be smiling a lot more now. How do we switch then into believing we can date multiple people? Because I used to get one person, we're chatting, we'll go on the date. If it's successful, brilliant. If it's not, okay, next person. I found this whole multiple dates, and I don't know, I found it a bit weird because I was so used to just chatting up somebody, progressing to a date, relationship on. I can't get into this modern way of dating,
You don't have
but
to.
maybe that's a block I put on myself. How then do we switch to that?
You don't have to date multiple people if you don't want to. My philosophy is date whoever you want until you decide who you want to be exclusive with. But if you feel more comfortable, or you simply can't fit more into your schedule, date one person at a time. I just want to make sure that if you choose to only date one person at a time, it doesn't somehow amplify the seriousness in your mind. So let's say you've been on 2 dates with someone. You have really zero desire to be seeking someone else out because you want to explore this and see where it goes. That does not mean you are in an exclusive relationship with this person just because you've chosen to not date other people. Does that make sense? That's why I usually encourage people to date more than one person at a time in the early stages, so they don't get so laser focused on the person they're dating that they think it means something more than it does at the early stage.
Does that link into the dating NATO, like, not attached to the outcome that you've talked about?
Sort of. So dating NATO, not attached to outcome, is something I came up with because I noticed that people put a lot of pressure on themselves, particularly on first dates. Could this be my person? Could this be my future spouse? Could this be the parent to my child? That's a lot of pressure to put on some stranger having a whiskey next to you, right? So rather, even though you might have a desired outcome in mind, your outcome might be a long-term relationship. I don't want you putting that kind of pressure on yourself or the stranger next to you to fit that thing. Because basically at that point, you're backfilling this person into what you want. Instead, rather you start at point A, just see if you like this person. See if you have a conversation. See if you have any rapport. See how they might fit into your life. It might not be for what you ultimately want relationship-wise, but it could be a friend. It could be a business, contact. It could be anything. So if we sort of separate ourselves from our desired outcome, we can be much more present on the date, and it sort of frees us. It frees us of stress and pressure and figuring things out. All you need to figure out on a first date is if you want to go on a second date. That's it.
I love that. Because I remember going in thinking, did she like me? Did I not? Did I? And I would sometimes get a text.
Think that way. We're human. I mean, of course.
But I mean, do you work with a client in the sense that they have to be ready and willing to date, or do you work with them in terms of self-care, dealing with whatever drama that they're holding on to? Do you get into the person and helping them in that assistance, or do you think they have to be ready to date to really be effective?
I don't really help in that way. I'm not a therapist. I don't go into past relationships with clients. I certainly don't go into trauma or anything. But if as I'm working, most people, 95% of people who come to me at least think they're ready to date. And so I'm starting at the current, I'm starting here now and moving forward. Now, if I see something getting in your way that maybe is something from the past, I'm certainly going to address that. I was working with someone this morning who, let's hope she's actually not listening because I won't say who she is, but I took notes because I was getting so annoyed. She was dismissing men for the most ludicrous reasons under the sun. She was like, he does yoga. Ew, I would never go out with a guy who does yoga. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Yeah. Something clearly happened here. And she's like, it's not masculine. And I said, I know plenty of masculine men who do yoga, and they are the strongest people I have ever met. What happened? And she's like, well, I went out with this guy once. And then I'm like, oh, so it was one experience that you had that you've now attributed to every man who does yoga? And it kept happening. She's like, I would never date a man with a cat. And I said, what's wrong with cats now? Well, I dated a guy with a cat once, and the cat threw up in my shoe. And I said, sounds like a bad cat. Not the guy's fault. And I wrote this all down. What did she say? I don't want anyone who's on social media. Well, everyone's on social media. Another one. I really hope she's not listening because I'll be in trouble. But she's like, I would never go out with someone who wears a matching pajama set. And
you've eliminated basically the entire man.
Right. And I had to say to her, do you actually want to meet somebody? And I said, because it's okay if you don't. You don't have to force yourself to meet someone if you don't want to. And she's like, yes, I do. Then I said, we have to figure out what's going on here. And it's funny. I ended our session. It was a singular session this morning. And I ended it saying, I understand that you probably don't want to speak to me again because I was really hard on you. Because I told her she was being a little ridiculous. No. And interestingly enough, she said, no, I probably needed it. And she signed up for 4 more sessions 5 minutes later. So I don't go into past stuff, I don't figure out why you are the way you are. But if it comes up in our present, then I'll ask about it.
It's time for a quick break. There are millions of potential products to buy, so how do you know which ones are worth your hard-earned money? Simple. You go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and explore those that will transform and improve your life. You'll find deals, listener exclusives, and special offers with some great companies. Recommendations are 100% honest and only on items Ian has tried or believes in. The companies showcased will make you a better man in all areas of your life. Simply go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and level up.
Because I think that's why you're so successful, because you don't only just demo the conversation, obviously taking out all the personal details, but
Sure.
you give it frank, honest, and
Yeah.
you cut through the bullshit. You cut
I
through
try
that.
to do that. Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of people need is we put these stories and she said this and what does this mean? And you're like, just ask them. You know, you let people, you don't get let us off with the stories we tell ourselves about, oh, it's their fault, this fault. Because some of the stuff you see is horrendous, but I love that you're showcasing it to us to say, this is what girls think about you. This is what this shows you as. You work with a lot of women. What's the pet peeves that they come to you about guys? Do you see? I know you could probably do a podcast on this alone, but do you see like the standard things? Is there things that you would just say to all men listening? Stop doing X, do Y, or
all men listening? Stop sending a daily good morning text before you know somebody. Please stop. It's horrible. Stop asking people, how's it going? How's your day? How you doing? How's your week shaping up? How is this week treating you? You don't care. We don't care. Make actual conversation on an actual topic. Yes, I would love for all men to be... Okay, now, I know we're being a little heteronormative here, but in this situation, we are talking about men dating, mostly men dating women. But in general, I would say for men, be more decisive. Ask someone out and mean it. Don't be a wishy-washy, hey, we should grab a drink sometime. How about, it would be great to get to know you over a drink. When are you available? That is so much better than a wishy-washy. And I understand that, sorry, I'm getting fired up. I understand that people are wishy-washy sometimes because it softens the blow of a rejection. If I sort of ask her halfway to go out, if I sort of say we should grab drinks, if she says no, it's like, well, at least I didn't ask her on the date. Okay, I'd rather you get a real no or a real yes than you asking wishy-washy, her being annoyed because you didn't really ask, and then everyone being confused as to whether this is a date or not.
Yeah, because I'm thinking how many guys just now are trying to think, well, I don't want to be too forward because she'll read this or that into it. And all she reads into that is, you're obviously not that interested in me.
Right. Whoop-de-doo. If you're not interested, so be it. But I would so much rather a guy say to a woman, like, I'd love to, to take you out for a drink or ask you on a date. I mean, heck, use the word date. It's just, I get that people are afraid of it, but there's nothing to be afraid of. It's a date. You're not asking for a marriage proposal.
Because I found you on Instagram originally, and 2 minutes in, I was like, she gets it. This is my kind of dating coach. I love how you...
Thank you.
It's almost like you're talking to me a lot of times by going, Ian, you're doing that. This is an example, Ian, stop that. And it was that moment of kind of like, yes, okay. And I was like, I'll do this. And I got back into dating. And I think that's the problem is there's so many apps, there's so many things. Do you find, and you went from finance to dating coach, the well-known transitional career choice.
Oh, yes. Standard protocol.
But you love have a spreadsheet. So I'm Mr. Excel. And you used it to analyze your results and your conversion rates and all that. I love that stuff.
Thanks.
But how, from your data, this is so weird. From your data, what apps give you the best bang for your buck, so to speak?
So it doesn't matter which apps. You just have to be proactive about whichever ones you're doing. So I see people all the time. Let's use what are you on? Hinge? Like what's your favorite?
Hinge, Bumble, Tinder. I
Okay.
suck at all of them at the minute.
Okay. Well, let's just use Hinge for the sake of example. It doesn't matter which tool you use. You just have to use the tool well. So if I'm coaching someone and I look at their Hinge and they're not sending outbound messages, they're not checking their inbound likes, and they're having boring conversations that consist of hi, hey, how are you, how's your day, they're not using the tools to their advantage. So I do
Hmm.
not care which tools you use. I mean, the most popular generally around the world right now are Bumble and Hinge. So that's what I have 90% of my clients on, with the exception of I have some of my older clients on like some of the sites that are geared towards people over 50. But other than that, Bumble and Hinge are pretty popular. Ian, are you ready? I'm ready to hear your Hinge profile.
Let's see.
Oh
I
boy,
think it's bad. I mean, because
you're really
let's
selling
see.
yourself.
Oh no, I changed this recently because I had tried an AI version and I had
Oh boy.
tried one that I had written previously.
Uh huh.
Um, let's see. Is there an actual bio on Hinge?
Okay. It's three prompts.
Okay, so unusual skills. I can llama sheep.
You can what?
Uh, llama sheep,
What does
like
that mean?
help them give birth. I grew
Oh
up
my
in the
god.
Highlands. I grew up in the Highlands, so we could deal with sheep. I needed something weird.
Okay.
A random fact I love is wolves and ravens have been filmed working together to hunt and share food. The raven identifies from the air, the wolf kills it, and they share the meal. Even the ravens have been shown to play with wolf pups. I found that quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I really want to start a relationship and tick things off my to-do list. Oh, I need to change these. This is so old.
Okay, so I have feedback. Do I have permission to give you feedback?
Oh, I think I need it.
Okay. So when I hear, even though I didn't know what lambing a sheep meant, when I hear that, I love animals, don't get me wrong, but I'm actually disgusted because I'm now picturing the birth canal of a sheep and I'm picturing it bloody, and that's the last thing I want to think about when I'm picturing who I want to go on a first date with. And so
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool thing that you enjoy, but I would rather hear that you grew up on a farm then you know how to birth a lamb. Because again, I'm now picturing just like the gory, birthing, which I don't want
Hmm.
to associate with you at this point. Okay.
Yes.
Number two, not dissimilar. Your fact, at least you understood what a random fact is. Um, your fact has to do with a lot of killing. I didn't catch all of the words, but there was a lot of killing in there.
Yeah. I mean, these are random things at the time, and you can
It's,
see I've
it's
just
okay.
thrown stuff and not edited a consensual flow. It's consistent flow.
It's okay. So I don't want to picture killing with the person I'm going on a first date with. Okay?
Hmm.
I don't want to picture animal killing, human killing. I think it's an interesting fact and it's cool that you know it, but I don't think it belongs in your profile. And then lastly, the last prompt was extremely generic. And so I think we could do better. So I want us to brainstorm for a minute if you're open to this. And I
Yeah,
want
let's go
you
for it.
to just list a bunch of stuff you enjoy, stuff you consume. And when I say consume, that could be food, drink, entertainment, movies, music, podcasts. I don't care.
Hmm.
I'm going to take some notes.
Um, Yep. So podcasting, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, football, rock music.
Mm-hmm.
I have tend to love to go and see shows and stuff, but I do that on my own a lot of times.
What kind of shows?
So it's mostly sort of stand up shows, like
Oh, nice.
comedy, but also a lot of like sort of adventure expedition
Mm-hmm.
guys, Red Bull people.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like turning my hand to anything,
Uh-huh.
and originally I had a version that was talking about if I'm not plucking killing a guitar melody, I can't remember. I kind of flowed into but
Yeah.
it always came out cheesy. It always came out as kind
Yeah,
of
no, I get
bleh.
that. Yeah.
Um, so at the I struggled to know myself, to how to sell myself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what I was saying at the beginning because there's a fine line. You don't want to be like, I am great. But on the other hand, you have to say a few things you're into. Because right now, I really don't know anything you're into. Clearly, you must like animals. But, like, I just learned a lot more about you in the last 2 minutes than I did from your profile. So, a few of my favorite prompts for Hinge are one of these four. They're all pretty much the same. Either my simple pleasures, or I go crazy for, or I won't shut up about, or I geek out over. They're all the same, and they lend themselves well to a list. So, for example, I geek out over, stand-up comedy, and then you could put in parentheses like, being a spectator, not a performer. And if you want to use your self-deprecation, you can say no one would want to see that. Okay, that would be your type of humor. Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I would write out that word because BJJ, you don't want it to accidentally look like the sexual thing.
Yes.
Podcasting, something, playing songs on the guitar that I have no chance of mastering. Since you're into the self-deprecation, you can get that into your profile while also explaining things you enjoy. Another prompt I like is, do you agree or disagree that, or change my mind about? If you have, as the kids say, hot takes, or just like a not actual controversial opinion, but just like a funny one, like a food combination that's not popular or something like that, that would be a really good place for, do you agree or disagree that? I've done one in the past that said eating salmon or lox on a raisin bagel is delicious, because most people would not be into that because the salty and the sweet. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so something like that might actually start a conversation. And then you might do, there's one thing you should know about me. The one thing you should know about me, I grew up in the Highlands on a farm, and so I probably know too much about, you can even say how to birth a lamb, and how to trim a tree. I don't know. I'm making things up. But that gives you still have personality. It doesn't come off too cheesy, but it shows that you're trying, and it's not all blood and gore.
Because that's the thing. Is sometimes I come in and I'll change one thing on an app, and I'll forget about it for months, and I'll go back into it, and I'll kind of go, okay, I'll change this picture, I'll change that. But I don't check some of the stuff. So there's different generations of these messages, and it's probably like, see, you're saying somebody's coming along and going, what the bloody hell, what's this guy on about? Because I found that Raven fact quite interesting, but I never thought
it is interesting.
I needed a new one, but I never thought about how it's actually perceived by someone else. I never thought,
I don't want to picture animals killing each other when I'm thinking about who I want to go on a date with.
Well, I have some unique ones. How do we spread these pictures then? Like, if I was talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, playing the guitar, is it you want to see a picture of some of these things to kind of incorporate it, or are just random photos? Like, because you said about, that you want like a full body one, you want this, you don't want just selfies on the same time. But how much activity versus natural versus other styles of photos?
I don't want them to be too staged. You don't need your Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's plenty to just say you enjoy it. If you wanted a picture of you playing the guitar, sure, fine. But basically, of the 6 pictures, the first one should be a nice, clear shot of your face. The second one should be a full body. I just want them to look like a representative sample of your life. So maybe you're at a comedy club and someone snaps a picture of you there. Maybe I know it's easier said than done. I get it. I know that's why men have so many fish pictures, because it's the only time they feel appropriate asking a guy, being like, "Bro, take my picture." I get it. It is hard, but I would say if you're out with friends, as weird or vain as it might sound, you can be like, "Dude, I know this is embarrassing, but I really need a Hinge picture." Any of your friends would be happy to comply. They might laugh at you, but they'll also comply.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? It's like a lot of guys, it's just, oh, well, that'll do. That looks, okay, we'll take it from there.
I know.
And I used to always be the guy taking the photos. So then suddenly I was just like, oh, right, what to do here? And I remember reading my profile out and showing pictures, and people said, well, that's a terrible picture of you. That's the one you should use. Or
here,
that
hold
doesn't
it up. Let me see.
Well, people were saying, like, let's get Hinge open.
See what you got going on. I'm totally putting you on the spot.
Go for it. The oh, why is it not letting me show the
You don't have
photos?
to if you don't want to.
No, I mean that was one of my.
Hard to see. Pull it back.
That was one of the photos I had back when I was styling.
All right.
Because I put on a lot of weight over the COVID period, and I'm slowly getting it back off, but I don't feel that confident anymore. There was one with the dog.
Oh, is that your dog?
It was a family dog at the
Oh, cute.
So
yeah, no, I understand. As long as your photos are recent, that's the most important.
Well, I've got ones there. I had one in my jiu-jitsu gi that was slightly old.
Okay.
And then there's just two kind of headshots. Yeah, when I look at them now, I see how they're not giving anything away. They're not showing the type of person or the activities I do, and that is a big.
People just want to see what you look like. So, like, I was reviewing a guy's profile recently, and it was awful. And he had all of these like mirror selfies, and it was terrible. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well," he said what you did. He's like, "I didn't want to come off too cheesy, too corny." And it's funny. I came up with the language after, but I wish I had said to him, "In your effort to look like you're not trying too hard, it looks like you're not trying." And that's what I want to avoid. I would rather you look like you're trying than not.
And I think that's what I've done.
A little corny.
I think I've definitely done that before, where I put so little effort into it, and then I come back to it. And I remember somebody emailed me once and said, "Your photos are hilarious, but that's not what you're meant to be doing." And we ended up going on a date because we started a conversation on that. Because I had a photo of me in a whitewater rafting where I had just inhaled a heap of water. I had one in a kilt when I was doing when I did a skydive wearing a kilt. All this kind of weird things. And I think I need to go back to actually showcasing my personality. How do we, once we start editing ourselves, how do we start then looking at their profile, analysing and seeing who's suitable, understanding like where's yes, we're attracted to them, but not okay, well that's not my type. You've said about how we should just approach and go on dates with everybody, remove the story. How do we get into this and pick the right people, use the filters correctly? How do we how do we not just click, but actually pick people who are suitable for us?
It's not lost on me that men are visual. So of course you're picking people. Of course the first picture is your first like barrier to entry, right? But I encourage everyone not to just choose based on that first picture, but to actually look at the profile and read the whole profile. If something's important to you, like a particular religion or something, make sure you're looking this stuff up. I don't want you. I get it. Most people are not going to listen and will just choose based on that first picture and look later. I understand that. But I do encourage looking at the whole profile. I think if you're attracted and she seems normal and nice, go for it. And when I say go for it, I don't mean just like. I mean, at least on Hinge, write an actual message. Don't pick a picture. Pick something she's written and ask a question about it. So I don't want you to just be liking her hottest picture. That's a no. But it's, looks like you're climbing, Machu Picchu. I went to Peru in 2019. Did you like it? Just something related to something she's written.
Because I would always pick something like that and then I would ask a question on it. But how much do you go into this? Like how do you know if it's a good opener? Do you have like a kind of test method?
If you write something like I just said, as basic as it was, that's going to be better than 90% of the messages that women get, because they don't get messages. Most people are so lazy and are just liking, and it's frustrating. And that's why I have people write this, what I call Hinge cheat sheet, which is basically if someone only likes a picture of yours, have a little canned message you can write to them about that picture. Oh, thanks for liking that picture. That was at Machu Picchu. Have you ever been? And so Any message that's not sexual, that's written in complete words and sentences, is going to be better than most every message they get. Trust me, I see a lot of these.
I mean, that's really helpful to know, because I must be one of the few people who actually reads, because I always like picking something off their profile and mentioning it rather than, oh, she's in her bikini, I'll pick that photo.
Right.
I much rather, oh, she's hill walking, she's gone off to here, or this is my aspirations. But men are obviously visual, where a lot of women they pick the emotional side of things. How do you persuade men to basically grow up and do that? Because it's
persuade
difficult.
anyone to do anything. I can encourage, though. I can say that your results are going to be better if you do this. And then, of course, I always get pushback, which is like, I used to do that, but then I wasn't getting responses, so now I just went back to liking pictures. Trying less hard is not going to give you the results you want. That's like if you said, well, I'm not getting any of these jobs, so I'm just going to send a trash resume and see what... You're not going to now get your dream job.
But I suppose that comes back to what you said before, is when they then come onto your profile, if they're not seeing the real you, or the ravens killing the wolves and all that, they're kind of going to go, whoa, this is it. So how then do you look at each person and go, okay, I could see a potential friend out of this? I could, are we keeping it that open, or do you just look and go, how selective in our scrolling do you guys, or do you ask them to be a bit more open to give everybody a try rather than the preconceived, this is my style?
I mean, you have to be somewhat attracted to someone. I would not go in thinking we're going to be friends. I wouldn't go in thinking anything. I would go in thinking, yeah, all right, I'll write to her. We don't know what kind of relationship it's going to be. I hate when people say that. Like, looks like they could be a friend. We don't know. And so I would say, if it's like yeah, sure, write a message. Because odds are, look, response rates are very low, unfortunately. Odds are you're not going to get a message back anyway, so why wouldn't you try?
So how would you start that? Like, say if she comes back and says, oh, this was me walking in such and such, or how do we start the conversation? But keep it going to a point of, let's start building a bit of chemistry here. How do we, but not just become pen pals, but actually move it towards a date? Because too many people, let's change numbers, let's send texts, and before you know it, you've killed all attraction. How do you keep it? Because you've said, to use these apps is just to get you to the date.
Exactly.
What is a realistic amount of time, messages, etc., that you should be looking at?
Under a week. I would say under a week. Within a week of matching and having the conversation, I'd like you to line up a date. I'm not saying you have to meet within that week, but at least be talking about schedules. I do recommend arranging the entire date from the dating app, so you don't have to exchange phone numbers, you don't have to take it off the app. So much gets lost by the time you exchange numbers, you take it off the app. Someone inevitably drops the ball or says something that gets misconstrued. So my recommendation is you have a few back and forth, and then you say something like, I'm really enjoying our conversation. Would you be interested in meeting for whatever, fill in the blank, a coffee, a drink, a walk? Let me know your thoughts. Or I'd love to learn more about you in person if you're open to that.
Because I love it. Because like in your social media, I love how that there's so many great examples of what not to do for guys. Like your Instagram is a gold mine of just don't be this guy, don't be that guy. For the love of, don't say that.
Yeah.
What are the main red flags that you've kind of noticed or you see clients mentioning with guys? Is it that they come with an expectation that if they're taking you out on a date, it means something? Are we coming that, we expect sex on the first date? Like what's the kind of worst things or the immediate red flags that guys do in the I hate this pickup phrase, but the text game that can put somebody off you despite the initial attraction?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest turnoff is bringing up something sexual prematurely before you know someone. That's the biggest turnoff. It's disgusting because most people want some type of physical intimacy in their relationship. And most people are going to want to talk about it. Most people are going to want to flirt perhaps in that way, but not before they get to know you, because here's the thing. if you're doing this to me, you're doing it to everyone. And it looks like you just have one, it looks like that's your only goal here. And two, it looks like you have no discretion. Like if a guy writes in his profile, my perfect Sunday is brunch, a football game, and sex. Whoa. Because it says to a woman, he'll have sex with anything. Ew. Right. I don't want to be a part of that. Yet in reality, she probably wants the exact same thing, not having it listed.
Yeah, you don't need to say it out loud. It can be.
No.
I always find that strange that guys think that that's attractive. And I know that it's the question of maturity versus emotion, but really, it's like sometimes when I see these like bro guys and finance guys, you just want to say, get a grip. Like money,
get a grip.
Money doesn't buy you attraction. Money, you're not owed things. I think there was some girl that said a guy had tried to Venmo her for 2 drinks he'd bought her because she didn't sleep with him.
Oh,
and she was saying,
that's awful.
And it was just that moment of like, I apologize for all mankind. That this is partly the reason I started the podcast was I was seeing all these pickup guys and the red pill, and I was like, no, I want to find how to actually meet people that want committed relationships, that want to be happy together, that don't want to be influenced, that just actually connect on a real level. And I wasn't seeing that out there. And that's why I'm so glad that there's people like you that can come on.
You sound smart to me. You sound very level-headed. You sound like you have a good head on your shoulders. And I think you have common sense. That will make you appealing to many women. Because unfortunately, a lot of people lack that. If you just treat people as you would want to be treated, with respect, you're going to go further than a lot of people. As women, we're not looking for anything particularly that special or that out of the ordinary. We're looking for common respect, appreciation, normal things. Unfortunately, that becomes rarer and rarer sometimes.
Definitely in today's society of like the instant gratification. I mean, how then do you systemize the dates? Because you like having funnels and, so you're using the filters and funneling them into things with template replies, etc. But how do you set up dates? Are you looking at coffee dates? Are you looking at active dates, short dates, that sort of thing? How do you plan the logistics of a date? As beautiful as that sounds.
No, it does. I always recommend something on the shorter side that you can always add more time if you want, but you're not stuck. So if you plan for dinner, you're stuck at dinner. You don't know if the service is going to be good. What if you don't like each other? I'd rather you plan a coffee, a drink, whatever kind of drink, alcohol or otherwise, a walk, just something. I personally like a drink date. I think that's what I usually recommend if people drink alcohol. It's easy enough. A bar setting is nice because you can sit next to each other instead of across, so it doesn't really feel like an interview. And then if you're enjoying yourself, you can either go somewhere else or order food there if they serve food. And you sort of have an out, but you can stay longer if you're enjoying yourself. So yeah. Also, I don't want it to be the most expensive first date ever. It's just a first date. It shouldn't break the bank. 1 drink, 2 drinks is plenty.
And do you have topics to talk about, or do you have ways for somebody to mentally prepare themselves? Do you have the kind of, because I see people interview dates and I'm like, speak to them like a human being. Like,
I know, seriously. I would rather you just talk about who you both are today. So keep things light, keep things present, similar to the stuff I was asking you, like food, drink, entertainment, movies, music, podcasts, TV, things like that. Like, who are you today? I would highly recommend not talking about anything too serious. Definitely not past relationships. Definitely not family drama. Stuff like that. You don't have to reveal everything. You don't have to disclose your whole life to somebody, right? I just want you talking about like things that make you happy. See if you have any common ground. See if you can sustain a conversation. That's really it. I would rather you leave a first date having learned nothing factual about someone, but remembering that you laughed and felt good about yourself and had a nice time and might want to see this person again. That's it. I don't care how many siblings they have. I don't care about their, torn relationship with their mother. Not relevant.
I've had people tell me about those kind of things, and I'm
Oh,
just
we
like,
all have. I get it.
yeah,
And look, if someone starts revealing too much, I'm not telling you to stop them. In fact, I'd want to hear what they have to say, because so much in the early stages is just observing. If someone badmouths an ex, I'm not going to stop them. I want to hear what they have to say. But I also know that's not somebody you necessarily want to go out with again, because if they're going to badmouth the ex to you, a stranger, what are they going to say about you one day to a stranger?
yeah. It's what is it they say? Past behaviour is a good indicator of future behaviour. And if that's how little they think it was somebody they loved, then what they're going to be like with just the date.
I don't even know if I mean, maybe past behavior is indicative of future behavior, but not even that. It's like what they choose to talk about to represent themselves, I think, says a lot more than other things.
And then, so how do you review a date? How, do we look at it in terms of how, because you've got a great series of prompts on your social media, but could you go into a little bit about, like, how do we and when do we review after a date? Is it the next day? Do we look at how they made us feel? Can we see ourselves with them? Was there attraction? What kind of things do we include?
I wouldn't even analyze it to that extent. I would just think to myself, am I curious to have one more conversation with this person? If yes, go on second date or ask them out on second date. If no, don't. That's it. Let's boil it down to something really simple. Do I want to have one more conversation?
And how difficult do you find, because you're the queen of the puns, how difficult do you find going on dates without using puns?
Oh, I can't get through. Actually, I got through most of this interview without using a pun, so congratulations to me.
I was quite disappointed. I was waiting for it because
I'm disappointed in myself. I'm disappointed in myself. But now I'm on the spot, so I can't do it.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. Was now you've looked at my dating profile, and I'm thinking what you could have said. Because I think that is something that comes across as you're warm, friendly, bubbly. That you say it as it is. You connect, but you're also all your passions come through you when you're speaking.
Are we talking about me or you?
Oh, sorry, were you? And I find that brilliant. I find that brilliant that I know you from listening to episodes on your social media for podcasts. I know that you are the you behind the screen. And
nice. Thank you.
And I find, but you spend a lot of guys, they turn up and you're like, or girls, and you go, that's not who I was dating, or that's not the person that they came across in the game. And I find that it's quite funny. It's like we play characters behind the scene, and you're thinking, but that you're quickly going to get found out. And I quickly lose attraction if there's only looks. I need more than that. I need connection. And I think I do probably need a dating coach, to be honest, at times.
Well, I hear there is a good one in New York who you can work with over Zoom. So, no, but I agree with you. I think a lot of people sometimes try to portray themselves in such a way to attract a certain type of person. But the reality is we don't know what the type of person you're looking for is looking for. So the best thing you can do is just be yourself. It's going to turn on the right people, and it's going to turn off the right people.
Well, as you can see, a lot of men don't know what they're doing. They have various insertions of different things they've found out, etc. How do we work with a dating coach? How do we become a good student?
Well, you are already a good student. I love that you did your due diligence. So I'm always flattered when someone knows about me. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Like you said, I post a lot of information on Instagram, but you can find me anywhere online at A Little Nudge. Instagram, my website, just dating coach Erika, A Little Nudge. You'll find me. I do coaching, and it's all over Zoom. And the beautiful thing is I can have you share your phone screen with me over Zoom, so we can actually look at your profile together in real time, make edits together in real time, and then write to people together. And so the goal for every coaching session I do is just really is efficiency, to teach you the tools so that you can ultimately do it better on your own.
And what would you want guys to take from this? Like, if there was a certain message you wanted people to remember, is there a summary or something that if you wanted them to be better at online dating, attraction, what would you want them to remember from this interview?
I mean, I think I already said it. Stop talking about sex. Stop saying good morning every morning to somebody you don't know. Stop saying, how's your day? How's it going? How are you? Enough with the shirtless selfies. Treat people like humans, how you would want to be treated, and just be like a thoughtful person who puts in the work, and you will go far.
And what's your favorite thing about coaching? Because how do you find the transition from coach to businesswoman to build the brand, etc.?
I like both. Yeah, I mean, I've had my business almost 14 years. It's very rewarding to run your own business and not have a boss. And I have an idea, I can implement it immediately. Like, I used to be an economist, and so I still love that. Like, I love looking at my revenue and my business documents and everything. But the coaching is obviously rewarding. It's frustrating in many ways, but it's obviously rewarding too. Like yesterday, for example, I was on with a guy. Where does he live? I think in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he has a second date tonight. And it's his first second date in a long time. And he told me he basically rattled off verbatim some advice I had given him. One big one was, I tell everyone to say when they're setting up a date, it's a date. And he said he was so nervous to say that because, like I was saying earlier, people get really nervous about the word date for some unknown reason. Like, it's too serious. And she came back and said, it's a date, can't wait. And he was so happy. And other little things, like he sent her a confirmation text, like I always recommend. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at 7, instead of are we still on? And it's so rewarding when I can give the advice, they use it immediately, and then tell me that it worked. There's no better feeling than that.
Because I remember you said somewhere you'd rather lose all your clients to know because they've gone on and met their person in relationships. And I think that's a great thing about dating coaches. You're not trying to keep repeating, you're just like, I want to see you succeed. Have you got a favorite client transformation? Like a favorite client story?
Yeah. It was probably 8 years ago. Young woman, early 30s. Wasn't sure whether she was open to dating men with children or not. But we found someone online, I found someone for her who looked great. And she was like, I don't know, he looks nerdy, he this, he that. And I said, just go on a date. It's one date. Anyway, she goes on the date. She's still not sure. I said, okay, well, if you're not sure, go out again. Just see. I don't know. It's okay if it's a no, but don't cut it off prematurely. Anyway, then we sort of, I don't know, I lost touch with her for, I guess we were done working together. A year later or so, she sends me a text that's a picture of her with the guy and the guy's son and the keys to the house they bought.
Awesome.
And that felt really good because every time she was on the fence before, she was leaning to no. And I pushed her that every time she was on the fence, lean to yes. Even if it's ultimately a no, we're not promising anyone anything. We're just giving ourselves a chance.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming out. Yeah,
oh my God, this was so fun.
It's so much enjoyed. I wish we could have more time to go through all my profiles and you could see how bad I them up. Because I'm just getting back into this and I think I have needed desperate help. So we've got to do a round 2 and look into other things, but I know we're over our time. How would you want people to get in touch? Are you taking on clients? Is there anything that, TED Talks? Have you got a book deal coming out? Because you deserve it all.
Oh, I appreciate that. I do have another book in me, but not yet. Again, anywhere a little nudge online. I offer, you'll see my service offerings on my website. Basically 2 services. One is, you'll see, it's doing online dating with you or for you. You can always, I give everyone, if they want, a free 20-minute consultation just to talk about how we might want to work together. But yeah, I'm very easy to find.
Well, that's it for another week. And thank you for listening. It's now time to take what you've learned and use it to develop and enhance your life with the key points mentioned. Listen, try it, embrace it, use it, and crush it. Now's your time to hit that next level in your life. If you liked this episode, then please leave a comment on the show notes or a review of the show on your podcast platform. Everything helps evolve the show. Until next week, keep seeking the next level in your life.